Did you know that in macro photography, the background often matters much more than the subject? Of course, an interesting subject is important, but it's not the subject that will ruin the image. It's the choice of background. So today we're talking about how you can use backgrounds to your advantage and get much more interesting photos. So with me today I have a Nikon C8, a 105 2.8 macro lens, ordinary speed lights. This is the SB700 and a diffuser dedicated for macro photography. And that's all we need. Okay, let's find a subject and I will explain everything as we go along. Now, I'm a nature photographer, and this means that I don't really like to use artificial backgrounds, and I almost never also place something like a leaf, anything, or flowers behind the subject as well. It doesn't have to be a lot for me to feel like things are getting a little bit fake. So I prefer as much as possible to either shoot the subject from where it is, or in rare cases, I will pick up a flower on which a subject is crawling and then turn a little bit to get a more interesting background. Now, as I said, I prefer not to pick up any subjects. And this means that instead you'll try to see which options there are for walking around the subject. It's just about being creative. But one important point, I almost never shoot top down on the subject, because then you only have the ground or the grass beneath the subject as the background choice. And that's not really a lot of options. So get down to eye level with the subject, and then a range of possibilities opened up. Now, I found a really easy subject here, a tiny snail, and it's perfect for demonstrating the next point. Now, what ruins most macro photos, it's actually lack of distance, because then you get all these grasses here, and if I just take a shot of this snail from this side, I'll immediately have grass in the background, and this looks not really pleasing. By just moving to this side, I actually managed to get some grasses a little further behind as the background. Another benefit is that the piece of grass that it's sitting on is acting as a leading line. A few days ago in the morning, I found a snail very much similar to this one, but with the exception that this one was actually active. Don't be afraid to point your camera a little bit towards the sun, as long as there's a layer of leaves and a few holes where the sun can peek through. When you focus on a subject like this one, really close, everything else will be out of focus, and this means you get a beautiful bokeh effect. Anyway, let's find another subject and see what we can get. Found this really cool spot with lots of metallic green beetles and longhorn beetles. I don't know the scientific names or the real names. I'm not really good with names in general, and at least not for bugs. Anyway, they are so cool. We have a little fellow crawling over here. He was on this plant but took off, and I just got a shot of him or her with the wings unfolded. I think that looks really cool, and I've never taken such a shot before. Sometimes the bugs are simply grouped in on a few plants, and this is where all the action happens. Actually, we got a little beetle love going on down there, so let's not disturb those too much. Now, I just photographed a beetle on this tiny nettle down here. Everything was quite difficult, but then it took off onto a higher nettle, and that actually changes everything. Once it's on a small plant that's a little bit above the rest, then you got that 360 degrees of background possibilities. But often you only need to move like this much to completely change the background. It's a tiny piece of grass or a leaf in the background that's just a slight change in angle will actually change the entire picture. On this one, a greener and a darker background, and then it flew just half a meter, and suddenly I got some brighter greens and some yellowish colors, and this makes for a much greater contrast to the subject itself. So that's definitely a thing to think about. Where can you increase the contrast, color contrast, or tonal contrast, and make the subject come a little more forward in the, or pop more in the image? Now, you can also experiment with a background that is in shade versus a background that is in bright sunlight. In bright sunlight, you'll get brighter colors and more saturated colors, versus in the shade, you'll get these kind of more darker and muted tones. But some subjects are best suited with a muted background. And no matter whether it's sunshine or if you got some wet surfaces, you need to look at the background with a critical eye and assess whether there are any reflections that can cause some issues, some bright highlights that will pull the eye towards that instead of the subject. Because of this, very early morning or very late evening or on overcast days, these are the best times, and that's what will make everything much more easy. Also, when it comes to getting a pleasing background. Today is actually one of the hardest days to do macro photography. There's some wind, the sun is very harsh unless you're in the shadows. Anyway, I encourage you to look at the background before you take the shot. Find out where that beautiful background is, because that'll make everything in macro photography so much easier. It'll not only make it easier, it'll also change entirely where you position yourself and where you take the shot from. If you love nature photography just as much as I do, then you might want to take a look at this playlist right up here. It contains all the videos I've made about landscape photography, wildlife photography, and macro photography for Adorama TV. See you over there. Take care.